What's up, everybody? My name is Joe Brown, and this is Heresy Financial. Today, I am going to prove to you how your portfolio manager, investment advisor, somebody who's pitching you a mutual fund, or the product pages where they're showing you their average annual performance, most of the time, they are lying to you. You're going to see an annual average return number there, let's say 5%, 7%, whatever it might be. It's a lie, and it is not reality. So I'm going to show you the calculation that they use to get to their number and how it is different than the actual performance numbers and what you can do to find out the real performance yourself. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, so up on the screen here, for those of you listening on the podcast instead of watching the video, I will read out each number so that you know what's going on, since you can't see, obviously. So the first thing that we're looking at is an investment with hypothetical returns. So this one, we're going to go year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and year 6. I just have them labeled 2016 through 2021. And we're just alternating between 50% up the first year and then down 40% the next year. And you keep on flip-flopping back and forth between those two all the way through the years. So 50 up, 40 down, 50 up, 40 down, 50 up, 40 down. Those are the 6 time periods and the corresponding performance. And so if you're looking at this, the 0 line here is going right through the middle. So you can see, I apologize, it's the same color for the down years. I didn't know how to change the color there, so I just left it. 50 up, 40 down. Now, if you were to look at a mutual fund or an ETF or an investment company, they were trying to post results of their portfolio, here is how they calculate it, and here's what the result would be. They use what's called an arithmetic calculation to come up with the average annual return. And if you go 50 up, 40 down, 50 up, 40 down, 50 up, 40 down, what you are going to come out with is an average annual return of 5%. So how do they get that? The formula is right here. It's just the sum of all of the performance years, the sum of the performance for each year, divided by the total number of periods. So when you do that, you get a total performance of 30% divided by 6 periods is 5%. Now, if that 5% average annual number were true, 2 things would happen. Number 1, you would have made money over that time period, right? Because if you average 5% per year, you're going to make money. And here's where that would put you if you flattened out those returns. If you get 5% every year, that's going to land you with an ending of 134. If you start out at 100%, you're going to end at 134%, obviously, because it's going to compound along the way, right? So I said 30 before, but it's 34% at the end of the 6 periods. So that is where it would land you. Here's the problem. With those returns, 50 up, 40 down, 50 up, 40 down, this is what it actually looks like. You go up the first year, down the second year, and you keep on doing that, and you end 27% lower than where you started. You end at 73% of your initial starting capital. That means that the arithmetic calculation of annual average returns is wrong, because it would suggest that you made money, that you made 5% every year, when in fact, you ended those 6 periods with a lower amount than what you started with. And if you continue this, you'll asymptotically approach 0. Now, you might ask, well, what's the calculation for that? If you can't just add all of the different performances up together, add up 50 and negative 40 and 50 and negative 40 and 50 and negative 40, and then divide them all by the number of periods, because that's how you calculate an average, right? If you've got a bunch of students and you're trying to figure out what the average performance is of for the finals or the midterms, you're going to take everybody's percentage that they scored, a 90 here, an 80 there, a 75 there, a 95 there. You're going to add them all up and divide it by the number of students. And that's not going to, that's going to be the correct true average, right? And so arithmetic averages have their purpose in the world when you don't have each individual instance influencing the next. And that's why you have to use a geometric mean, the geometric calculation for the average. You cannot use the arithmetic calculation because geometric accounts for the compounding effect. Another way that this is usually, another name for this is CAGR, the compounding annual growth rate. And so you'll notice if you're ever looking at a mutual fund page, stock page, whatever, you're looking at the performance, you're going to notice they have an annual average return stated that looks pretty good. And in the fine print, usually they'll have the CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate. That's the real number. That's the actual performance there. And it's usually going to be worse than what the annual average number is, or else they would just use that not in the fine print. They'd use that in their promotional material. So here's the calculation that you actually have to do. Here's the real equation. Instead of just adding them all up, you have to multiply each period together. So expressed as a percentage, up 50% would be 1.5, and down 40% would be 0.6. So you multiply 1.5 times 0.6 times 1.5 times 0.6 times 1.5 times 0.6. You take the product of that, which is 0.729, and you raise it to the power of 1 over the number of periods. So we've got 6 periods in this case, so you raise that product, which is 0.729, you raise it to the power of 0.16 repeating, which is 1 over 6, and then because it's a percentage, you have to subtract 1, and that leaves you with negative 5.1%. And so this is the actual correct annual return, which would leave you with the real ending amount down 27%, you ending with 73% of the capital that you started with. So we're ending with 73% of the capital, whereas the arithmetic calculation would suggest that you end with 134% of your initial investment. Now, the difference between what the arithmetic calculation would suggest versus what the geometric calculation, which is the correct one, what you really end with, the difference between that is going to get wider the more volatile your returns are by year. And so I've got 50 up and down 40 alternating just simply because that is a good illustration of what's going on here. The difference is extreme. If this was up 10 and down 5, you would, I believe, I ran the numbers and I believe you still end with a positive amount. It's just less than what the arithmetic calculation suggests. I think up 10, down 5, alternating for 6 years. I think that lands you, the arithmetic calculation would suggest like 3% a year, and your actual returns are like 2.5% a year, something like that. And so in that case, you still make money. It's just less. And keep in mind, this is compounding. So over an investment time horizon of 20, 30, 40 years, that makes a big difference in the end. If in the end you end with, double your money, but it's telling you you're going to end with triple your money, that makes a big difference, right? And so even small amounts of volatility can make a huge difference in the end result, because we're only looking at 6 periods here, which means also that if there is no volatility, if it's, let's say, 3% every single year are your returns, there won't be any difference between the arithmetic mean and the geometric mean, because they're going to be the exact same. Look at you're just adding 3 together and dividing versus the geometric calculation and multiplying them together, then raising to the power of 1 over the number of periods. They're going to come out exactly the same. And so in that situation, if there is no volatility, it won't matter which calculation you choose. This also, kind of as a side note, highlights why volatility is so important, so vital to pay attention to and understand, because averages will kind of obfuscate the volatility that's there. If you are planning on, let's say, visiting a planet, and the average temperature there is 75 degrees, you might think, well, that's fantastic. 75 degrees, just like Southern California. But the lows in the middle of the night are 0 degrees, and the highs are 150 degrees. Then that planet's not going to support life, right? So volatility matters, and it shows up and it impacts your long-term performance when you are compounding, when your inputs for the next period are determined by the outputs of the last period. Because when you're investing, you're going to throw 100 grand into a mutual fund or a stock or an investment, and you are going to let that ride, and you might be adding some to it over time, but you're not resetting it to 100% of your capital every single period. And so you need to be doing a compounding annual growth rate calculation to determine what will my performance be if every period's performance impacts the amount that I have going into the next period. Because if you go up 50% the first year, the next year when you go down 40%, you're taking 40% off of a much larger number than you had at the beginning. And then when you go up 50% from there, you're only going up 50% from from a much lower amount than what you were before that period. And just in case you think this matters, order here does not matter. If I went 50, 50, 50, then negative 40, negative 40, negative 40, it does not matter. You're going to come out with the exact same result. Just look at how the equation works. You're multiplying all of the performances together, and then and so it doesn't matter which order it is. It has no bearing. If you go up 50, 50, 50, and then down 40, 40, 40, you're essentially you're just taking a different path to get to the exact same result. An easy way to test that, just go up 100% one period and down 50% the next period. You start at 100 and you go up 100, you're at 200 now, and you go down 50, you're back at 100, right where you started. If you flip the order and you start at 100, you go down 50 first. Now you're at 50, and then you go up 100%. You're back up to 100, right where you started. So order in this case has no bearing whatsoever. Just in case you thought that I was manipulating the numbers here just to prove a point. The only thing that I kind of manipulate here, there's not really any investments that periodically flip back and forth between 50 and 40, but there are extremely volatile investing instruments out there. So something to keep an eye on. Make sure that when you're looking at your 401k performance, your pension performance, you're looking at a mutual fund, you're looking at an investment company that's pitching a product, a managed portfolio, anything like that. If it's not clear what kind of calculation they're using to arrive at their annual average return numbers, they're probably using the arithmetic mean, and you can usually find in the fine print the CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, or the geometric calculation to find the true performance numbers. That's all I have for you today. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.